This is Diane from Teach Pre-K, and I thought that I would start, since it's almost July, talking maybe to some teachers who are brand new, and this will be a good refresher to those of you who are teaching preschool 3 to 4 and pre-K 4 to 5. Just kind of help you remember how to start your year. There seems to be this big rush to, get your classroom set up and have it just be so perfect, so cute, so organized, so great. But today I'm going to share 5 tips that I think are even more important. So these are 5 tips for new teachers. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, give me a thumbs up if you like this content, and tune in for more as the week goes on. Summer goes on, excuse me. First thing I want you to think about when you are setting up the classroom and you've got all these cute things and you've got your new borders, your new papers up, you're getting organized, you've got things labeled, it looks great. Don't neglect planning. That is number one. Do not neglect planning. Get those first 2 weeks planned, then finish up your classroom. And this is going to bring me to number two. Number two, while you are planning your next 2 weeks or your first 2 weeks, I want you to keep it so simple and so slow. Work in as many time fillers as you can, because when you start out, circle time has to be shorter. The kids have had summer break, they aren't used to sitting and listening, so you're going to have to maybe come to the rug for less time and make the teaching that you do at the rug engaging, really dynamic. Get the kids involved, get some physical activity in there, lots of singing, just anything that you need to keep their attention, but get them up, get them back down, have them listening, have them speaking, singing, chatting. That's really, really, really important. So when you are planning your simplified week, it's like, okay, so what does that look like? I've just been working on a new little welcome to school unit. And one of the things that I'm doing is a little bear sort, but we're also counting, and I'm making little cards that have 1, 2, or 3 bears on them. That is all I will use with my 3-year-old class. Then I've got cards that have 4 and 5 bears. I will see how my pre-K does with 1 through 3 and add in the 4 and 5, but I'm not going to go up to 10. I'm going to start my 4 to 5s at the end of my 3 to 4 standards to kind of assess as I go. So go slow and assess as you go. So shape activities. Start with 1 shape or 2 shapes, then move on to activities maybe involving 3 or 4. Do not go more than the 5 basic shapes of circle, square, rectangle, oval, and triangle. Don't go past those this week. Heart and star are easy. You could throw those in, but it's just kind of adding more confusion. I always will do color sorts because that's going to give me a baseline on where they are with colors. When I do puzzles with them, I do really simple elementary puzzles. See how they do with that. So next time I bring puzzles out, I can bring out something a little bit more difficult if they're ready, or I just stay where they are. But those first 2 weeks are your time to set your procedures, really teach your classroom rules, go over things over and over again. But if you work things slowly enough, you're going to get a really, really good baseline of where your kids are, and you'll see where you can go from there. And as we know, especially with our pre K kids, it moves pretty rapidly. The first half of the year for the 3 to 4s, got to really do a lot of nurturing and a lot of learning through play and a lot of practicing, giving them a lot of time to get used to moving in free choice centers and going to see teachers and all that. But they'll start catching up and kind of doing more rapid fire learning at the end of the year. So after your first big break, which for me would be my winter break or my Christmas break. So I had somebody comment on one of my previous videos about how, I know they're supposed to learn self-regulation in a month, but I'm really struggling. I don't know that I still have self-regulation, and I'm in my 50s. So understand that the things you're teaching these very young children, you're going to be working on all year long. And maybe the next year if you get the same crop of kids or a few of the same ones. It's just, they are just learning all these things, how to behave in a classroom, how to work with all these other kids in their space, how to listen to adults that aren't their parents. They might not even listen to their parents half the time. So learning that self-regulation piece is one of the biggest parts of our purpose, but it's what we practice every single day with them. You're not ready to have the cake fully baked. You are baking the cake all year. Does that make sense? And I want you to really internalize that so that you give yourself a break and you don't feel like a failure, and you understand that you are going through this long process and you're just at the beginning of it. So give them grace, and in turn give yourself grace, because you're going to be repeating yourself over and over and over and giving the same instructions of keeping your hands to yourself. Use your words to solve problems. Let's use a nice face and nice words and a soft voice, inside voice instead of outside voice. Things like that. They aren't going to learn that in a week. They aren't going to learn it in a month. It's going to be a long, slow process. So understand that fully at the beginning, and you'll be doing great. So part of that is when you do have circle time or whole group time, and you're starting to build up their stamina, and you know that they can be on the rug for longer amounts of time, they are never, never, never going to sit still and quietly on the rug for your entire circle time. You will always be interrupted. They will always be touching their friends. They will always be calling out. They will always, always, always be doing that because they are learning. They'll get better and better at it every single year, but I know adults that can't do what you think your kids, your 3-year-olds are going to do. So keep that just going straight align with that. Self-regulation, it's not exactly the same thing, because when you are in circle time, you are doing a lot of getting up, getting down, talking, calling out, call and response stuff, lots of games and stuff like that. So give up the idea of the perfectly behaved class at circle time. You'll have these days where it's awesome and you love it and you're getting all these things done and they're learning like crazy and they're participating and they're engaged and it's great. But you will hit a hiccup and things will go awry every now and then. It just happens. That's just how it goes. So be expecting it, be prepared for it, and start learning things that you can do to head things off at the pass. So I like learned really, really fast that doing a whole class show and tell is never going to work because it takes too long. They can't sit that long. It all falls into chaos. So think of things like that. That's just one kind of extraordinary example because you don't have show and tell every day, but just have 3 to 4 kids bring something and you'll see that that gets better and better. Don't do show and tell your first month. Don't have these grand plans of doing assessments and having the kids counting and finding their names and all this stuff. Focus on the procedures, how to come to the rug. What song do we sing when we're ready to start circle time? Do we sing a song? Do we do a chant? How do you get their attention? Do you flick the lights off and give them their 1 minute warning or their 2 minute warning or whatever you're going to do? And I suggest you always give them a warning before it's time to stop playing. You are going to bypass a lot of meltdowns that way, and the kids will get used to like, oh gosh, I didn't get to the sensory bin, I want to go. My 1 minute for my 1 minute warning is never 60 seconds. It is a very, very soft 1 minute. Every once in a while things go over and we have another place we have to be and it becomes a panic 1 minute and it might be 30 seconds, but that's really rare. I've been teaching a long time and I've really learned to pace my days so that doesn't happen. But sometimes your centers are so engaging and they are having such a great time that you just want to keep that going and you do lose track of your time. So be prepared for that. But your first 2 weeks, so when you're doing that planning, yes, getting your classroom looking great for Meet the Teacher Day is awesome. And people are going to think you got this amazing, organized teacher and she's the best. And look how cute these rainbows are. But the most important thing is really doing that planning and having that planning be, we are going to practice lining up. We are going to take a tour around the school because we want to learn how to line up. We want to learn how to walk through the school. So before I get my kids out the door, I tell them, we're going to walk through the school. This is what we do when we walk through the school. You can wave hello to the people in the office. You can even say, hello, Mrs. Barker. But, I tell them what to expect and what is expected of them. We practice. It might be a zoo. Kids might be going all over and it might be herding cats for a little while. We come back and then we'll practice going to the rug again. Oh, let's go put our pockets on the rug, sing the same song that's just going to be like Pavlovian dog after a little while. But I want you to practice, and before you clean up, it's cleanup time. This is what we do. Stay at the table or the center that you are at right now. Clean that place up, then go help a friend. We'll do things like whisper cleanup. So we'll practice cleaning up again, but this time we use our whisper voice. Or silent cleanup. We try our hardest not to make a sound. And I'll usually say, I don't think you can do it, because kids love a challenge. We all love a challenge, and we love to show people what we can do, especially if they are acting like, they can't do that, right? And kids especially love that. So there's a lot of tricks involved. But I want you to think about all of those things. So that was 5 things. It was plan, right? Go slow and lower your expectations of the types of centers you're going to do. Keep it basic, basic, basic. You want to focus on the procedures, the behavior, classroom rules, and you can't do that if you're trying to get someone who only knows how to count to 5 to get up to 10. I forgot that it did that. So there you go, a bunch of party balloons. Our third thing is they are never going to sit quietly on the rug for the entire circle time. Circle time has to be short at the beginning. Please remember that. Self-regulation develops over the year. When you're done at the end of the year, the next teacher gets to pick up where you left off and teach more life skills and self-regulation skills to them. We are the base. We are beginning. We are teaching them that. We're not going to deliver a fully baked and decorated cake to kindergarten. We might, after we get done with pre-K, deliver a baked cake, but then it's up to them to put the icing on. And then in first grade, they'll add the decorations. Second grade, they'll write the name and icing. Do you get what I'm saying? We're going to add a little bit each time. The best thing you can do for the first 2 weeks is go over your procedures, trying to use the same language as often as possible. Practice, practice, practice. Come up with excuses to practice. Let's go show this art we made to Mrs. Barker in the office. So they all have their art project, and we practice lining up. We practice how we're supposed to be in the hall, how we walk through the hall, what our voice is supposed to be like, inside voice, because we're inside. Show Mrs. Barker our pictures. She thinks they're wonderful because Mrs. Barker's amazing. And then we head on back to our classroom. So that's what I'm always thinking about doing. Before I take them to the playground, I say, we have a slide out there. There's a twisty slide. And when you're at the top, you can't see anyone at the bottom. So you go down the slide and you get off. You don't go up the slide, because guess what? Someone up there can't see you and they're going to knock you over and it's going to hurt. We have another slide that's a small straight slide. You can see. But if someone's waiting to go down the slide, do you think it's a good idea to walk up? No, wait till they go down, then you can try to walk up. So just teaching them all those little things before you get there is really gonna go far. I always go through my centers and I tell them, okay, today we're opening up the writing center because yesterday we learned how to put lids on markers. So you can't go to the writing center today unless you know that you're going to match the colors of the lid to the marker. You're going to hear that click when you put the lid on, so that everybody can have a nice fresh marker to use all the time. If you don't think you can do that, don't go to the writing center today. But remember what we did in dramatic play? We take turns. We share toys. What happens if we get in fights over toys? Well, Mrs. Lee might just have to give that toy a rest until tomorrow, and then we'll see if we can try it again and do it better. So just that constant reminder, these are the rules of the sensory bin. This is what we do with books. We've got books in our library center. Throwing books, that's not okay. Wow, you know what? A book is a really easy thing to share. All those things, you guys, I want you to be thinking about bringing it all together and constantly. It's like you almost wish you could record yourself so you don't have to speak. I always lose my voice the first couple weeks of school because I don't talk as much over the summer, and I talk all day during the school year. So if you remember all of those things to plan those first 2 weeks. I'm going to try not to do a peace sign so we don't get balloons, but that was actually kind of fun. To remember they're not going to sit perfectly still in circle time. That's going to take all year. Self-regulation is going to take years and years. You don't have to build Rome in a day. You don't even have to build Rome. You just have to build the Colosseum, and then someone else can build the rest of the town. You need to go over procedures over and over and over and over. And everything you do, the fifth one, go slow. Assess as you go. And I'm not saying write down and take data. Those kids need all your attention. I want you to do a mental general assessment. So you can say, you know what, this class isn't ready to count to 5 yet. This class can get to 3. Let's focus on 3. Let's add 4 in the coming weeks, and then we'll go to 5. They're great going through 5. Let's see how they do with bigger numbers, and find ways in circle time, counting games, math centers to make that happen for those kids, because you always want to keep them challenged. You don't want to get them bored, but you don't want to make things so hard that they feel like a failure. So After you've remembered all that, then finish making that classroom as adorable as can be. But this time, you've been in school for a couple of weeks, put their art all over the place. They're going to love that, and the parents are going to love it too. But you got this. Just remember, you're not baking the whole cake. You're not building Rome. You're getting it to a place where somebody else can pick up and continue on for you. So I hope that was helpful. If you have any questions or comments, leave them, and I answer all my comments. So again, thanks so much for watching.